And the thing is, I do believe there was talk about these things. I believe if we study history, the Confederates were able to shoot pterodactyls, back in the Civil War, and they spread these things out. Anybody can look it up online.
Google it yourself.
They spread these things out, and this is a historical fact. So, they spread this thing out, and it's got a huge winglet. It was a pterodactyl they shot. So, of course, these things have been around. Now, they went extinct, obviously, slowly, but surely. And so,
what I'm saying is Jesus wrote a dinosaur to work. That's history. It's in the Bible. How to Train Your Dragon.
Historical facts.
And if you don't believe it, do your own research. Pull up Google. You'll find the picture, I promise.
Oh my God.
Thank you, John Gleason, Godless engineer, for gifting me this beautiful moment. Y'all remember when they tried to cancel Steven Spielberg for posing with an animatronic triceratops animal rights activist?
Back it up.
Hit it from the back.
Cloaca. Historical facts.
Eat my ass, BP. You're down here bailing on the rest of us because you don't want to process your grief and shame like a normal person by drinking and mistreating strangers.
No, Rick. It is you who must nibble my cloaca, or bird asshole.
Everyone knows what a cloaca is.
Back in the Civil War, and they spread these things out. Anybody can look it up online. They spread these things out, and this is a historical fact. So, they spread this thing out, and it's got a huge winglet. It's a pterodactyl they shot. So, of course, these things have been around. Now, they went extinct, obviously, slowly, but surely. And so,
Paul Bunyan was sharing some Funyuns with his pet velociraptor.
Whoa.
Oh, you thought it was an ox? Roll back the clock. Let me knock the socks off. Historical facts.
I didn't cut out. You heard me. Are you a pervert or something? Okay.
What's up, heathens? How y'all doing? I'm the Godless Engineer, and I critically analyze apologist claims to give you the best arguments and information so that you can stand up and use your voice. Tonight, we are going to be taking a look at Dr. William Lane Craig, because that is, for some reason, who all of the Skeptic Mafia has chosen for us to respond to tonight. And I mean, I just gave them the topic. Sorry, I gotta get that. For some reason, my camera is looking a little weird. But so that's the topic that the Skeptic Mafia chose for tonight. And yeah, my ass is sitting down. I'm having some sugar problems. So we're just going to be having some comments, and then we're going to go right on into the video and then the Skeptic Mafia comments. So Brocephus is already passed out drunk in his room with his blanket. So sorry about that. He'll be on next week, though, I promise. You got him a heated blanket, and so that's the reason why he fell asleep early? Yeah, okay. I think he's just a lazy ass. Anyways, so tonight we'll be looking at what is the origin of evil. Dr. William Lane Craig is going to enlighten us on what causes evil, where evil comes from, and why it's definitely not God, despite, Isaiah 45:7. The verse where God says that he creates both the light and the dark, good and evil, and all this other shit. Anyways, apparently God didn't do that. Apparently somebody else created evil. So we're going to find out who created evil. If you want to fuck around and find out who exactly is responsible for all this evil shit in the world, then please stay tuned. So Casey said that it's definitely her. She's definitely the source of all evil, obviously. And a little bit me. A little bit me, but mostly Casey, apparently. let's see. Oh, yeah, turning off that color correct seemed because I was like really red. Like I was a lot redder than I actually am, and I turned off for some reason I had a color correct thing on. Let's see, smooth it out a little bit more, maybe. No, that's made me a little bit translucent there. Look at that. I don't know why I'm fucking with this right now. I really shouldn't be, but whatever.
Maybe he's freaked out because you're not wearing a black shirt.
Yeah, probably.
Oh, do y'all smell that candy corn?
Star Sapphire Tomato Chan says, "Did you see the meme I made for you? Is it on Discord? If it's on Discord, I probably have not seen it, just because I don't go onto Discord all that much right now." Oh. Let's see. Yeah, copy and replace. Hold on. So, this is the image that was made. Tomato Chan made. Godless engineer, William Lane Craig. William Lane Craig used a fallacious argument. It hurt itself in its confusion. That's pretty good. I've actually been playing the new the new Pokemon a little bit, and I love Pokemon. Pokemon's probably one of my favorite games. And then we got Darren Wright, who says, "I feel like the video choices this week were a total WLC setup by GE. He set us up, Mafia." No. There were 2 non-William Lane Craig ones and 1 William Lane Craig one. It's just that for some reason y'all love to pick the William. Even KC stumbled into that particular trap. She was like, the other 2 kind of sound like WLC, so I'll pick this one. And it's like, oh, that's WLC. It's like, shit. And then we got Command Cyborg, who says, "It's always interesting how the guys taking that book anthology library seriously don't want to acknowledge what it says." Yeah, that's it's always interesting. That's true. Thank you so much, Command Cyborg and Darren Wright, for your super chats. If you guys didn't know, last month what we did was we donated to Kids to Love, and that's an organization here in North Alabama that helps out with foster kids, giving them like Christmas presents, school supplies, and other things that foster kids need that they don't necessarily have access to. So we donated a portion of all the proceeds that we make here off of Godless Engineer to a charity, and last month it was Kids to Love. So this month, I don't think that we've chosen necessarily a charity. Yeah.
We would do
Rain?
Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network.
Okay, that's a good. That's a good group.
So I promised them we would do it last month, but then I forgot we had to do the Kids to Love early, so
Right.
do it in this. So we can do Rain.
Okay, so we're doing Rain this month. Rain is the rape and incest. Rape, abuse, and incest national network. So, if you want to send in a super chat, that'll help us donate. Watching our videos helps too. Becoming a Skeptic Mafia member also helps us donate to good charities like Rain. Let's see. We've also got Clyde950 who says, "Hi, hey GE, hi everyone. Don't forget to like and subscribe." That's right. If you haven't liked and subscribed yet, then you might want to, considering that you're still here after, that intro and everything talking about whale peen and stuff. No, wait, it wasn't the whale peen one. It was the Matt Powell and the dinosaurs. Yeah, flying dinosaurs. Anyways, failed on the not mentioning the whale peen this week. Anyways, so we do have some comments to go through tonight, some things that I wanted to address. and that we don't have a shitty ass science, but we will get directly into William Lane Craig's video. So let's hurry on up with this shit show. Oh yeah, we've got Today I Learned too, not just comments, but we've got Today I Learned. Sorry, I had to throw my arsenal out of the way there. You know, being in Alabama, I've got to have a gun near me. Well, it's really weird. I've got a Nerf gun near me, a wand, and a blade. It's up here. It's over there. Anyways, here we go. Today I learned. Today I learned. Woohoo! We got the wrong background up, so hold on one second. Okay, here we go. Today I learned that a study shows, and this study was done in Italy, but a study shows that when comparing students who have identical subject-specific competence, teachers are more likely to give higher grades to girls. And I know that we've discussed a similar thing recently about girls ended up getting not as high as grades during remote.
This person just
schooling.
bought an express ticket to hell.
Hell. Thank you so much there, Quentin. Quentin said sending in my weekly tithe. Will like to say I got tricked into voting for William Lane Craig. I thought we agreed on a warning. And then Green Wizard needs food. Shit, yeah. Green Wizard needs food says Matt Powell in The Dinosaurs is the third worst Transformers film. Yeah, it sounds like it would be. I thought we agreed on a warning. I agreed to no such thing as a warning on which one would be William Lane Craig. It's always been a toss-up, and it's not my fault that you guys walk into it every single time, okay? William Lane Craig just has, I guess, appealing topics. Anyways, it does kind of suck a little bit with the William Lane Craig because I have to re-upload his videos to my channel just so that you guys can make comments that I can read. Because all of his comments are turned off because, he's an apologist. But anyways, on back to the Today I Learned. We recently covered a Today I Learned where during teleschooling or long distance schooling or whatever, the girls got lower scores because they weren't like in class or whatever. And in this one, it shows that there's a systemic issue with girls getting higher grades when, they're just as competent as the everybody else in the classroom. So it's kind of odd how that works out. But apparently this Italian study shows that is in fact a thing that happens. So interesting. I don't know what else that could mean, but it's interesting nonetheless. Next up, we've got Today I Learned that the Pinkerton Detective Agency, famous for secretly delivering President-elect Abraham Lincoln to Washington in 1861, was hired as recently as 2020 for union busting by Amazon and in 2022 by Starbucks. So there you go. The Pinkertons are still around. All right, next up on Today I Learned, so that we can get to these comments, we've got Today I Learned that the band Green Day got its name from the phrase Green Day, which was slang in the Bay Area where the band originated, for spending a day doing nothing but smoking marijuana. Armstrong once admitted in 2001 that he considered it to be the worst band name in the world. Yeah, they do have some of the best songs. That's right, hun. And I think that's a perfectly fine place to, pull your name from, I guess. I don't know. I'm sure it was legal. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge at the time. Jason Kolasik says, it's not your fault for playing the flute at the cliff edge. Do tell, how many lemmings did LB Bill catch this time? I think it was something like 30 some odd % of the vote of 33 votes. I think. So I mean, it was a pretty hefty number of people that picked them. But anyways, all right. Well, that's gonna be it for the Today I Learned section. We got Apocalypse Meow. Interesting name there. Says, can we start a new thing called a Litwa test?
Oh, can you smell the pumpkin spice?
To test if people have actually read things they argue against. You know, I feel like maybe that would be a good idea because, I actually have a video coming out on Monday where I continue to prove that Litwa hasn't read on the historicity of Jesus, and he continues to misrepresent positions that are stated within the hypothesis. And also give you guys a pretty good background on where I, as a mythicist, think Christianity originated from. How that was exactly built up. So that's coming on Monday. And the two other choices that we had this week for the live streams are going to be coming later on. But yeah, the Litwa test, I don't know how we could, I guess the Litwa, if you were to say the Litwa test is just whenever a scholar or somebody claims to have read something and then they say something that's completely contradictory to what's in that, then they failed the Litwa test. We figured it out. Litwa test, like the lemming test, not lemming, but lemon test. Anyways, all right. Thank you so much for your super chats and everything like that. You guys are awesome for sending those in. So now let's get on into the comments. Shall we? Yes. Comments of the day. Prepare to facepalm yourself in the next week. Yeah, my shit just all fell. Anyways, Lure Reality says, "Oh, it's my 1-year channel B day. Thanks, GE. Oh, thank you so much for being part of the channel there, Lure Reality. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but that's just the best way that my southern brain can pronounce your name right now. But in any case, thank you so much for being part of the Skeptic Mafia for a full year. Thank you for that. I think Casey's the oldest member of the Mafia. 4 years? 4 years, 1 month.
Actually, it's 4 years, 1 month, 0 days.
0 days? Okay. 4 months, 4 years, 1 month, 0 days. Awesome. All right. So we got some comments to go through, some things that I want to discuss here today. First up, very topical for the time of year because it's December. Well, technically it's just after Thanksgiving, but anyways, S.J. Thomason, she who shall not be named, even though I just named her, says Jesus is the reason for the season. I don't think so. I think that axial tilt is. That's the reason for this current season. And it's also different for people across the world because, like, if you go into the southern hemisphere, it's actually summer right now. So Christmas in the southern hemisphere is summer or summery. But anyways, Jesus is not the reason for the season. This is the case for multiple reasons. For one thing, if Jesus was born in history, then he wouldn't have been born in December. He would have been born like late summer, like sometime around September or August. He would have been born around that time. And it's just sort of, huh? Oh, okay, sorry. I thought I heard
Hey, dipshit. This person just bought you a beer.
Thank God. Thank you, Daniel M., for buying me a beer. And David says good night. Hey, David, I hope you have a great night there, bud, and an awesome weekend. Thank you so much there, Daniel, for your super chat. So obviously, Jesus wouldn't have been born at in December. That's an unreasonable time for the story. It's an unreasonable time in general for everything surrounding Jesus' supposed birth. Now, there's the one thing. The second thing is that the early Christians did not care about Jesus' birth. Mark, being the first one to write, about anything about like a historical Jesus, or what we know about the historical Jesus, if there was one, he didn't care about Jesus's birth. He doesn't chronicle Jesus's birth. Jesus's birth was just like any other normal fucking Jew in the area. He just was born to Mark, and so it wasn't really all that important. What was important though was Little Christmas, or the Epiphany, and it's still celebrated on occasion in different areas of the world. So, like in the Orthodox Church, I think that it's really.
We got a new member.
Gen XRN got gifted a membership by Star Sapphire Tomato Chan.
Donating this much only makes me drink more.
Asexual Atheist says, "Good night, David."
We got a new member.
There's not two members. There's one member. I don't know why it happened like that. But anyways, thank you so much there, everybody. So anyways, Jesus, his birth wasn't all that miraculous, and the early Christians didn't really even care about it. So saying that it's the reason for the season is kind of an anachronistic thing, because it originally just didn't matter to the Christians, and it only mattered when they were trying to co-opt other religious holidays and make it easier for the Christians to convert, or make it easier for non-Christians to convert into Christianity, because you still have the same time frame for all of the religious sort of stuff, so it makes sense. So Jesus is not the reason for the season any more than Saturn is the reason for Saturnalia. Well, I mean, Saturn is the reason for Saturnalia, but reason for the season, I mean, it's just when shit gets celebrated. And if you really wanted to go back far enough into what was influencing like all of the pagan religious holidays being like in December or in the winter time and all this other stuff, that is centered around like agriculture, like the old agriculture gods and everything like that. That's where it was kind of centered around. So I'm not saying that Jesus was an agricultural god. I'm just saying that influenced.
We got a new member.
All right, Apocalypse Meow became a member. Awesome. Thank you so much. Now, I had a response to this, but I wanted to read this out completely first, because I do have a lot of mythicist content that's going to be coming up going forward. So I felt like this might be a good time to address it. So it's Whoviating. Decided to write a comment saying, "I'm skipping this one because, bluntly, I don't give a damn if Jesus lived or not. I have no problem accepting that in the 1st century CE, a wandering preacher named Jesus gathered a number of followers and maybe even was executed by the authorities. If so, he was not the only one. Even the Bible admits that part. Who the heck do you think were all those magicians the text warns us about? It has nothing at all to do with the real issue, which is not claims of his existence, but claims of his divinity. Those claims I do not accept." Okay, I get that. I do. And I mean, going forward, I am going to be putting out more mythicist content and everything like that. Because I find the topic interesting, to be perfectly honest. And, but I find this particular response, or this, sentiment, to be rather interesting to me, as I laid out in my response to it. Because my response was, who cares about what really happened in history? We should really be discussing whether or not he was a magical Jew. Again, I understand not caring about whether or not Jesus existed in history. You don't have to watch the videos. You don't even have to leave a comment. But if you're going to sit there and say that, you know, I'm skipping this one because I don't care about Jesus, because the topic that I care more about is whether or not he was magical as fuck. I don't understand why that's a more interesting question. Like the historicity of Jesus and the historicity of the New Testament and all of that seems to be a lot more interesting of a question when you look at it than whether or not he was magical, because everybody already knows whether or not he was magical, because magic doesn't exist. Therefore, he wasn't magical. No matter what you look at as far as history goes, nothing's going to prove that the magical Jew walked on water. Okay. Nobody's going to be able to prove that. And so I don't understand why that's a more interesting question than what evidence do we have that even suggests that he existed in the first place. How do these religions form in the first place? What are mystery religions? Like, those are more interesting questions than like, oh, did this fucker really fly through the air and ascend into the heavens? No, he didn't. Anyways, so that's my thing. I'm fine if people don't want to watch it, but don't sit there. I feel like, you know, people shouldn't act like it's more interesting to ask whether or not he was magical. Like, that just doesn't seem interesting whatsoever to me. So just wanted to put that out there. Jester, Lord of Fools, says, honestly, why should I give ground on his existence when they pretend it gets them to everything else? You know, that's a good point. I can understand that. Especially when you're going about, you know, talking about the historicity of the New Testament or anything like that, you can definitely bring up some mythicist topics. Typically, whenever we're talking about like resurrection stuff, I'm perfectly fine conceding, oh, Jesus existed in history, just so that we can actually debate like what the person's wanting to talk about. But I totally understand that sentiment there, Jester. Next up is Jonathan McClatchy, which we had a short here on the channel. I don't know, you guys watching those shorts? I know not a lot of people like the YouTube TikTok stuff, but you know, they suggest putting them out for whatever reason, so I do on occasion. Tonight I'm having Mellow Yellow and Moonshine. It's the Blue Flame Moonshine, so it's like 128 proof and like nearly rubbing alcohol. So, you know, always know I'm doing good when KC laughs at my ass. So anyways, Dr. Jonathan McClatchy, he has been kind of going on about this maximal case for the resurrection. And again, this is, you know, arguing about whether or not Jesus was a magical Jew. But this maximal case, I'm really interested in because of how people seem to be arguing about it. So, Jonathan points out that the maximal data case argues that the Gospels are composed by individuals who are well-informed, close up to the facts, and scrupulous, and thus that the resurrection account reflects the unembellished testimony of those who were purportedly eyewitnesses of the resurrection. So the Gospel was composed by individuals who are well-informed. They literally were not. We don't know who wrote them, so there's no way that we can actually come to any kind of conclusion about how informed they were. And considering the fact that, you know, all of the gospel authors write different shit down, I don't see how you can actually come to the conclusion that they were well informed when they have different stories. Sometimes very different stories, like the Gospel of John takes place across 3 years, while in the Synoptics, Jesus burns out in less than a year. So, and then close up to the facts, there's literally no way that we can actually know that they were close up to the facts. There's no way to know who wrote the Gospels, and so there's no way that we can come to that conclusion. Scrupulous, there's no way that we can know that they were scrupulous. There's no outside testimony in which to compare to. There's nothing but the Gospels as far as the time of Jesus on earth. Not even Paul reports anything about what Jesus did on earth. So there's literally nothing that we can compare to. It's just what the Gospels say. So there's really no way to tell if they were scrupulous or not. And thus the accounts reflect the unembellished testimony. How can you analyze that? I mean, I get it that Dr. John, this is just a single tweet, 280 characters probably. So, I mean, I don't expect him to provide all of this background information on it. These are just the things that go through my head whenever I read a tweet like this, as far as making these claims. Because, like, for instance, Jonathan McClatchy thinks that the title authors of the Gospels are the ones that actually wrote the Gospels, and so they were literally disciples of Jesus, or they knew the disciples of Jesus, and so he thinks that they were well informed and close up to the facts. But in reality, we don't have the authors' names. Like, we don't know who actually wrote the Gospels. They're all anonymous. They don't sign their names. They don't give us any kind of indication of who they were. All we know is that these individuals that did write the Gospels wrote in Greek, which they would have had to have gone to pagan schools, and only like the top 1% of society at that time could even do that. And so it was a very small group of people that could have even written or wrote the Gospels at that time. So it definitely wasn't the disciples. It's like at every turn, it just seems like it's not going to be the disciples or anybody that actually walked and talked with Jesus that wrote the Gospels. Deviant Outcast says, I was a mythicist as a Christian and thought everyone was else was too, realizing they weren't, was one part of leaving the church. Oh, that's an interesting way to go about it. Thank you, Deviant Outcast. And then Command Sideward says it's all different, therefore it's all true. Yep, that's kind of what it says. So, again, though, getting to the point of this tweet is that Jonathan McClatchy is making an argument that these disciples...
Just a little bit of money.
that these authors of the Gospels witnessed a magical resurrection. They witnessed a magical event, a suspension of reality, and... therefore, we should take it as the truth. And I just, I don't find any good evidence for that. All right, moving on. We got some lighthearted stuff to go over now. This Turkish Islamic preacher, this is back from 2017, so a while ago, but a Turkish Islamic preacher says men without beards cause indecent thoughts in other men because they look like women. And I just feel like you're outing yourself there, dude. Now, I'm not trying to throw that in anybody's face or anything like that. If you like dudes, you like dudes. But don't sit there and try to force other people to adhere to whatever, like, visual standard you want them to adhere to so that, you know, your dick doesn't get a little hard in your pants when you look at them. Deviant Outcast says, studying Egyptology and archaeology sealed the mythicism deal.
Oh, can you smell the pumpkin spice?
Mm-hmm. Watching YouTube 2 to 3, 4 years ago made me realize, oh shit, this is a new discussion. You learn as you live. Oh, that's interesting there, Deviant. Yeah, definitely. Learn as you live. But anyways, you know, I don't have a problem, you know, if this guy is, you know, gay or anything like that. Obviously, I don't have a problem with that, but you know, don't sit there and act like it's a bad thing. Is like, because I don't think that it is. And if you're attracted to beardless dudes, you know, more power to you. I mean, I obviously wouldn't twerk you the right way, but you know, I'm sure that there are some people out there that would. I'd twerk you the right way. You like me with a beard. You would not like me without a beard. You'd still love me? Even though I look like a baby, a baby's ass. Oh man. Anyways, okay. Off this uncomfortable subject because we got PragerU to talk about. PragerU says atheists envy the religious because they have meaning. Well, this kind of insinuates that we don't have meaning in the first place when that's not even true. So I don't envy the religious at all. None whatsoever. Elizabeth Richardson says, one of my former coworkers had a tan line when he shaved his beard once a year. The first time I walked in the office...
A small portion of this donation went to beer.
The first time I walked in the office and saw him, I laughed my ass off. I would have laughed too. I'm sure if I cut this shit off, I would have like a tan line. Because, you know, well, I mean, maybe if I did it during the summer. I just made her yawn, so that's not good. I shouldn't shave it. Yeah. So PragerU often likes to lie or misrepresent. I don't know which one, to be honest, but obviously atheists can have their own meaning in life. So there's no reason for us to envy religious people because they have meaning. And whenever I hear somebody talk about this particular subject of the religious people having meaning and atheists don't, what I hear is that atheists don't have the same meaning in their life that religious people do. So the meaning to life for a religious person, at least if you're in the Abrahamic religion, is to worship God, right? So do everything for God. We're going to hear a little bit of that tonight here in a minute with William Lane Craig, but you need to, do everything for God. And that's the meaning in life. The meaning in life is to praise God in a religious mindset, at least in an Abrahamic religious mindset. And so given that, atheists don't have that meaning. Like we don't think that we need to please God. So religious people can only see that as us not having meaning, because the only meaning that they know about is pleasuring God, however they can, however you want to take that. What? Yeah. Pleasing God. You gotta please that God knob. No shit. I did it again. Fuck. Anyways, so yeah, atheists have meaning, perfectly fine. Next up is a true social media philosopher here, David the Heretic, who says, "You're dumb as fuck." No. You're dumb as fuck what? You're not completing your sentence there. Do you mean like you are dumb as fuck? Oh, okay. I mean, I don't really care if people consider me dumb as fuck, but maybe perhaps if you're going to be condescending and kind of a dickbag, you should think about, making sure you have the insult typed correctly, because then you just look stupid. And I mean, I've done that before. Like I've said some stupid shit and it's been spelled wrong, and then I look like the idiot. So, I mean, I'm not saying anything that I wouldn't turn around on myself. I'm just saying that if you're going to be like this, make sure you're spelling shit correctly. David the Heretic. Not you, David, over there with Daniel. Not you, but this guy right here. Oh, and then finally we've got this one, which is an interesting message. I gotta get in the right headspace here. Hold on. Beware. Be aware that a questionable circus is in town who uses diabolical symbols in their act. Wrong there. The enemy is cunning, is disguising himself a wolf in sheep's clothing. A rosary will be said at the fairgrounds at 3 p.m. today, November 26th. Join us in prayer in person or from wherever you may be. Just start saying your rosary. I don't care if you're in the middle of a grocery store, in the middle of work, in the middle of a meeting. Doesn't matter. Just start praying the rosary at 3 p.m. Okay? Do the correct time zone calculations for wherever the fuck else you might be. All right.
We don't know what 3 p.m. is. 3 p.m. where?
Yeah, it's a good point. 3 p.m. where? I have no fucking idea.
3 p.m. somewhere.
Yeah, it's always 3 p.m. somewhere, I guess. Yeah. But I don't know what the diabolical symbols are. That's an interesting way to to describe it, I guess. Because I can't. I mean, I don't know like what kind of symbols they could be talking about. All circuses are questionable. I think all circuses and all fairgrounds are questionable. Like my mom, she would never let me go to the fairgrounds, and you know, she had it seared into my mind, this image of like the Ferris wheels or one of the rides, and it like breaks down mid ride, and then all this chaos breaks out, and it's like, and then the wheel just goes off and careens across the fairgrounds, killing children and adults and babies. And so, like, and anytime I've been to a fair, I've always been very suspect of like the rides and shit. So, but anyways, that's gonna be it for our comments tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know I did. And I guess we'll go on ahead and get on into the video, shall we? I know everybody wants to get to the William Lane Craig video. Had to suck on my pure alcohol drink here. Gotta get, like I said, gotta get in the right headspace for this shit. Okay, so we got William Lane Craig. You know, he's been posting up videos for a while. Some of them are Frank Turek style question and answer sections where people just pose questions to him. And this is one of those questions. So what we're going to do is we're going to listen to the guy's question first, and we're going to, I guess, discuss it. And then we'll get into William Lane Craig's horrible answer for it. Hope you guys get your butt holders a holding.
I think my question is about the origin of evil.
Yes.
Christians, you know, believe that real live evil exists. That,
yes.
It's true. There really is evil in the world. We don't believe God is evil.
Right.
And we believe that at some point he is all there was.
Yes.
So it becomes a conundrum to explain to people who aren't Christians how we got to this state if God's not the author of evil. If he didn't create evil, and he's not evil, and evil does exist. I didn't know if you had some thoughts about the origin of that evil.
Oh, he definitely has some thoughts there, buddy. They're not going to be good thoughts, though. Okay, so right off the bat, I love that the Southern crowd is being represented by this guy. He's asking a very good question. Because, you know, the question being that if God didn't create evil and God isn't evil, then how did evil come into this world, or how was evil created? I think that's a very good question for religious people to ask. Of course, we're going to get into like at least one Bible verse where it's obviously going to be contradictory to the sentiment that God isn't evil. But there are several different ways that you could really critically think about this whole, you know, God isn't evil, or God didn't create evil kind of thing. So for one thing, if God created everything in this world, then God knew that evil would be created, even if it was like something that happened in response to something God did.
You are blessed by Christ, ma'am. Or sir. You are blessed. Happy Thanksgiving, you heathens.
I still get the Thanksgiving shit up, yeah. Who's Your Buddy says a washing machine lasts about 12, so GE is 3 washing machines old. Happy belated birthday. Jesus Christ. 3 I'm older than 3 washing machines. I was born in 1984, so that makes me 38 this year. So you're about 2 years off. So that's 3 and 1/6, right? 3 and 1/6 washing machines. There we go. That's a good way to judge ages. I'm 3 and 1/6. Avanta says word salad is not the same as having a thought. GE, don't give WLC too much credit. He does spout some pretty good word salad here. Like it's pretty meaty, not meaty, but leafy word salad. Let's see. I do. Let's just go on ahead and get on into the actual Bible verses that we could bring up. Let's see. Isaiah 45:7. All right. So, I mean, this is obviously going to be like, something that's God breathed here because that's how we roll. Get some of this cropping down here. Shit. All right, so here's Isaiah 45:7. I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, the Lord, do all these things. Let me read that again. I make peace and create evil. Sorry. What, screaming it for the people in the back? I think it is. So obviously the Bible here is suggesting that God does in fact create evil, specifically saying that he creates evil, which, let's see, Isaiah 45:7, Septuagint. Isaiah 45, Britons. So, a lot of times people will try to suggest that, oh, well, that's not what was originally written there and everything like that. Like, yeah, shit, it wasn't. Oh, no. But if we go to Britain, the Septuagint translation here of Isaiah, let's pull this down here. Let's get it to where it looks halfway decent. So we got line 7 right there. I am he that prepared light and formed darkness, who makes peace and create evil. I am the Lord God that does all these things. So even in the Septuagint, which is the Greek version, or not Greek, but the version of the Old Testament, like scriptures and everything like that, that people in the first century were using, it definitely says that God created evil. I am the Lord God who does all these things, creates evil is one of those. So that's definitely one route that you could go as far as pushing back against this whole idea. If you got somebody that's like, God's not evil. But if you wanted to go another route, you don't necessarily have to bring up Isaiah 45:7. You can demonstrate it by God's actions in the Old Testament. And if you go to the what's that Bible thing with the contradictions and shit? Skeptics Annotated. Yes, thank you, honey. Skeptics Annotated Bible. If you go to the Skeptics Annotated Bible, you can actually go into their topic sections and you can go to cruelty and violence, and you've got like a plethora of verses right there at your fingertips that, has all of these very uncomfortable, very evil, and very bad things that God directly commands in the Old Testament. Typically, one of the things that I like to go to is either slavery or sexual slavery or genocide. Those are typically the three things that I will mention if someone wants to say that God isn't evil, or God isn't bad, or God doesn't command horrible shit. Because in Numbers 31, you have God commanding the genocide of an entire people group, and at the same time, you have have God commanding the taking of sexual slaves. And so you've got a 2-1 punch there with that particular story. And then as far as the slavery bit goes, Leviticus 25:44 through 46, which maybe we could bring that up, because that's slavery, and slavery you could consider to be pretty evil. I would think that, anybody that's not, Kanye West or Ye, is his name Ye? No, his name's Ye. Ye, whatever. Let's see, 25 through 46. Let's bring this up. Here we go. All right, so Leviticus 25:44 through 46. Both thy bondmen and thy bondmaids, which thou shalt have, shall be of the heathen that are round about you. Of them shall ye buy bondmen and bondsmaids. Sorry, this is the King James Version. Moreover, of the children of the strangers that do sojourn among you, of them shall ye buy, and of their families that are with you, which they begat in your land, and they shall be your possession. And ye shall take them as an inheritance for your children after you, to inherit them as for a possession. They shall be your bondmen forever. But over your brethren, the children of Israel, ye shall not rule one over another with rigor. Now, I doubt the ye that they're talking about is Kanye, but whatever. Anyways, so I feel like slavery, and that's a tacit endorsement of slavery by God there. I feel like that right there kind of makes God a bit evil, because he's saying that, yeah, it's okay to own other people as slaves. Like, I'm not a savage, is kind of the energy I get from that particular section of the Bible. So as far as this guy's question goes, I don't think that you can really have a coherent response to, well, who created evil if God didn't? Because, one, God did create evil. He says so in Isaiah 45:7. Two, if you don't want to accept that answer, then we can just examine God's actions. And God's actions, by our modern understanding of morals and our moral foundations and everything like that, we would definitely call anybody that speaks favorably about sexual slavery, genocide, any of that, we would definitely say that those things are horribly evil, and that would make that person evil. Kevin Beelers asks, is it ye or yay? I don't know. Ye, yay, Kanye. Yeah, that actually makes sense. So it'd be yay. I think if it was Michael Jackson, he'd be yee. Daniel M goes, WLC is the master of not having coherent responses. That's right. That's correct. Thank you, Daniel M. He's definitely the master of not having any kind of coherent response, which he's not going to have for this question, because, apologists.
2 Timothy, what the fuck ever? Shut the fuck up.
Because apologists like William Lane Craig here, he thinks that God just implicitly can't be evil. I didn't mean implicit, I mean intrinsically. God intrinsically can't be evil because God is only intrinsically good. So anything that God commands or God says or God does is considered good because that's the standard for good, according to William Lane Craig. So like when God commands you to take slaves from the nations around you, that's a good thing because God told you to do it. Except if you import that into our modern sense of stuff, if God tells you to, kill people or, do something crazy, then it's obviously not seen as good. We brandish that person as crazy as shit and all this other stuff. Like, they think that God's talking to them and that's crazy. But, the Bible talks about God talking to people. So, I mean, is it really all that crazy if you're religious? Hell, religious people talk about God talking to them all the time. Fucking Jesus covers them in his goddamn blood every single day. And everybody just acts like that's fucking normal. Like, can you imagine if somehow Jesus's blood on people manifested and you walked around and you just saw people covered in the blood of Jesus everywhere? Like, it would be fucking crazy. It'd be like that prom night on that Carrie movie, except everybody's Carrie. And they think that their thoughts can have real, effects in this world, like as far as like psychic shit, because they like to pray to God and use their psychic abilities to influence him. Anyways, so there you go. That's why God's evil. If you could follow that line of logic.
Yes, I see the origin of evil in a disorder in the free will of creatures. God has created creatures with a free will, angels and humans. And
whoa. Angels have free will? Like, angels are divine creatures, which I guess you'd have to say that angels have free will because, Lucifer was an angel and he made the free will decision to like tell God to fuck off. I'm God now. And then he got booted out of heaven. Of course, that's not exactly in the Bible, but whatever. But I mean, I guess they would have free will. I mean, in the Bible, as far as like the Old Testament goes, and maybe especially in the New Testament, I'm not exactly sure, but I don't really see the angels as having a lot of free will, although I don't think that there's anything that prevents them from having free will. Daniel M. says if everyone was covered...
Oh, can you smell the pumpkin spice?
If everyone was covered in Jesus' blood, we wouldn't be able to walk. We would all be slipping everywhere. Yeah, that's true. They need to keep their Jesus blood to themselves. So everybody has free will, and apparently evil is rooted in free will. And even before watching this video, I knew exactly where he was going with this. That humans and I guess angels technically make the conscious decision to do evil, right? But I feel like the thing that you want to focus on is what do we classify as evil? Because I feel like evil has some very religious connotations to it, right? So if we were to translate this into something a bit more secular, we would just say what's morally good and what's morally bad. It's really important to know what William Lane Craig considers to be morally bad, right? What does he think is morally bad? And he reveals that in this video.
these wills are properly oriented toward God as the supreme good.
So there he's saying that our free will is initially intrinsically appropriately pointing towards God's will. So like when God created humans fresh out the dirt or rib, our wills were oriented to what God wants, right? It's only until we orient ourselves away from what God wants does evil get thrown into the mix. So like when Eve ate the apple and then Adam was convinced by Eve and the trouser snake to eat the apple, like that was pointing away from God's will because God said, hey, don't eat that. Now, God could have easily put that fucking tree with the fruit or whatever kind of fruit it was. It wasn't necessary. It wasn't an apple as far as the Bible goes, but whatever kind of fucking fruit it was, he could have placed that motherfucker somewhere else where, we couldn't get to it. But it's necessary for the story. It's theologically necessary for Christianity and really Abrahamic religions for God to place that exactly where we could get to it, and so that we could sin. If God is all-knowing, then as far as what William Lane Craig is saying here, sorry, we got a super chat coming.
Happy Thanksgiving, you heathens.
Sonic Shroom says, I have decided that I don't have morals if they come from God. I have ethics from information. Yeah, I mean, if you want to see, your moral foundation as an ethical foundation, I mean, I could, I guess, see an argument for that. But I refuse to define things in terms of religious definitions or religious thinking. So I'm fine with morals, being something of a secular nature rather than coming from God. But however you want to argue it, bud, you go right on ahead. But God being omniscient, whatever he did to give us free will, or whatever he did for Adam and Eve, he knew that was going to happen. He knew that they were going to turn away from God. He knew all of that stuff. And so, like, if I take a psychopath out of what's the word I'm looking for here? Out of the jail or the prison or the mental hospital, if I take a psychopath out of the mental hospital and I put him in like a marketplace and I give him a gun, I feel like I am at fault for creating that situation. Like, it's not like I'm sitting there like, oh, this guy right here is definitely not going to kill all of these people in this marketplace. No. Like, you can't sit there and be like, oh, I didn't know he was going to do that. You knew he was going to fucking do that. So God definitely knew that all this was going to happen. God could have done things in a different way where it didn't happen. So either if God didn't create evil, then he's responsible for it. Either way, this is just logically thinking out the shit that William Lane Craig typically says. Who's Your Buddy says, I love my dog. That's why I don't keep chocolate right next to her water bowl. Just saying. That's a good point there, Who's Your Buddy? That's probably a better one than the psychopath from the mental hospital. Putting the chocolate right next to the water bowl for a dog. Like, I feel like that's probably a more appropriate analogy. But in any case, good analogy there. Who's Your Buddy? Thank you. Let's wait for the notification to come through. Will it come through? All right, if it comes through, it comes through.
Creatures use their free will to direct them toward other goods rather than toward God as the ultimate good. This is a disorder in the creaturely will and is the origin of evil.
What are you laughing about over there, hon? You feel like William Lane Craig's a disorder? Yeah, I could see that being a disorder. So basically, right there, he's just saying what we were all thinking that he was going to say, and that's when creatures, either angels or humans, decide.
Maybe you should quit drinking all that beer, G.E.
Finally, whenever those creatures decide to do something that's not in line with God's will, that's when evil is created. But I mean, still, the point remains that if God didn't create evil, then God set up the situation that would have created evil. And then he's pointing the finger at his creation saying, oh, but you did a bad thing. Well, what's that bad thing? That's the important thing. What is William Lane Craig saying is morally bad?
So moral evil is a result of creaturely freedom and is a disorder in the creaturely will. Now, one might say in addition to that, that evil doesn't have any sort of positive ontological status. That is to say, evil isn't a thing that exists and needs to be created by God. It's a privation of something.
I'm not sure what he means by it being a privation of something, because I define privation. If you define it, see, define privation. A state in which things are essential for human well-being, such as food and warmth, are scarce or lacking. So, like, things that are essential for well-being are scarce or lacking. So evil being a privation, I'm not exactly sure what he means by that. I don't know if, like, maybe I'm just misunderstanding what he's talking about here, because I don't see evil as being like something that's necessary for human well-being. I feel like the unnecessary suffering in this world could be gotten rid of by God if he were to exist, and God, being that he's the smartest motherfucker, to ever exist, he could come up with a way that our shit could work without the unnecessary evil or the unnecessary suffering in this world. Sirenian says deprivation. Let me go back and re-listen. Withholding that which is necessary. Yeah.
God, it's a privation of something. It's a privation of right order in the creaturely will. And to illustrate...
Okay, so he's saying that it's a severe lacking of the proper order for creatures, like angels and humans. So it's saying that, or he's saying that it's a privation, like it's a severe lacking of order in that creature's existence, because his order isn't oriented towards God. And what he's getting to here, and I can't remember exactly how he says it or if he's already said it, but William Lane Craig considers anything that's not oriented like on a vector that points directly to God to be evil. So if you're doing something, it could be anything, that if you're not doing it for God, then it's evil. So that makes anything in this world able to be evil. If you're feeding the homeless, but you're not doing it for God, like if an atheist is feeding the homeless, or an atheist is, let's say, giving presents to foster children, Yeah, foster kids Christmas presents. Since Casey and I are not doing that for God, with God in mind, and in order to glorify God, that's an evil action. Evil is created when we do anything. So what does that mean? That means, at least as far as I'm understanding it, which it could be fucking, the moonshine that's, near pure gasoline. Huh? I did buy it. I mean, it's good moonshine. But what I'm understanding is that it's not about your actual actions. And I've covered this before. I think the last time I talked about it was on Jimmy Snow's channel. But it's not about what actions you do. Actions are not the things that are considered evil. Like, it's not evil to enslave another human. Necessarily under this particular idea. Now, don't take me out of context here or anything. People will probably do that maybe, but it under this idea that William Lane Craig is putting out, slavery, sexual slavery, genocide, all of those things are not necessarily evil, because you have to examine why those things were done. Were they done to glorify God? Then they're not evil. They're actually good. And that's how you can argue yourself into thinking that horrible shit is actually good.
Think in physics. Cold is a privation of heat. Cold doesn't have any positive ontological status. There isn't any thing called cold. Rather, it's an absence of heat. So,
I mean, that would be like a physics description of what cold is, being an absence of heat. I'm not exactly sure why he's trying to like
Happy
force it.
Thanksgiving, you heathens.
I'm not sure why he's trying to force it into some kind of philosophical, like epistemic, like understanding, but that's more of a physics understanding of like cold and heat. Let's see. So blaspheming God is good. Well, considering that blaspheming God, well, it's like what's considered blasphemy? Because you got religious people out there that will say that blasphemy is just like taking the Lord's name in vain or whatnot. But I think that it could be that, like showing disrespect towards God. That's obviously against God's will. God doesn't want to be disrespected. He's got to warm up his pimp hand, and then he's got to smack you around a bit, right? But also blaspheming would be saying that like God doesn't exist, and God doesn't want that either. So it would still not be good. Daniel M says, WLC, I was born a rambling man. Hold on, maybe we should actually say that. I was born a rambling man.
Happy Thanksgiving, you heathens.
And that's William Lane Craig right there. Sorry, my sugar was like bombing out before we started the stream, and now it's like just a little bit over. So I'm doing good. But in any case, let's get back to what WLC was saying. Oh yeah, that oatmeal cream pie would definitely fuck up my sugar. It was so low that it just said low earlier, so I had an oatmeal cream pie. Yeah, it was below 40 is what it was. That's never good.
cold is a privation of heat. Now, that doesn't mean, obviously, that cold is illusory. If you go outside on a winter's day, you can feel how real this privation is.
Well, I mean, to say it's illusory, I mean, if you're going to go with the understanding that cold is the absence of heat, the whole idea of cold is kind of illusory. Let's see, what does illusory mean? An illusion? A thing that is or likely to be wrongly perceived or interpreted by the senses. I mean, I kind of felt like if you're going to be going the way that William Lane Craig seems to be going with this, I feel like cold is illusory because you're not you don't feel cold, you feel the absence of heat. So cold would in fact be illusory in that kind of way.
I don't know. When I stick my feet on your legs at night, you feel cold.
Casey said that when she sticks her cold ass feet on my legs at night, I definitely feel cold. I feel like it happens the other way around. I put my cold ass feet on you, and you're the one that's like, Jesus fucking Christ, where'd you come from? The Arctic?
Well, then you don't normally do it.
I don't, because
I do it every night.
Oh, do you? Do I make sounds? Because I don't remember them.
You're usually asleep.
I'm usually asleep, or I'm fucking polite. And I want to warm you up. So that's what blankets are for. Okay.
Unless they're my feet.
Unless they're your feet. Got it. So, I mean, he's trying to say that like evil is the absence of good. And so evil is not necessarily illusory, but evil is something that's non-physical that is not created. God creates good, but he doesn't create evil, despite what Isaiah 45:7 says. And, to be quite honest, I feel like the person asking this question, if they were a bit better prepared, they would have mentioned things like Isaiah 45:7. I don't think William Lane Craig would have actually coherently responded to, Isaiah 45:7 as being like evidence of it, but at least it would have been brought up in the question.
But it's not a positive reality that would need to be created by God. And in exactly the same way, evil doesn't have any positive ontological status. It's a privation of right order in the creaturely will that is due to freedom.
Casey asked that if privation was on a word of the day calendar or some shit like that. He did say it a lot. And that's actually going to be it. It's actually a really short video for tonight, which we've got a lot of comments to go through with the Skeptic Mafia. But basically, William Lane Craig's position seems to be that evil is not something that can be created, but it's when you withhold the right order of God, or this order of God, this order that is oriented towards God. So anything that is good is oriented towards God. You could do anything oriented towards God. The Crusaders, when they came over here and they gave the native population smallpox and they were bringing them Jesus, that was a good thing. Because at least it was oriented towards God. They were doing it to spread the faith, so therefore it's good. At least that's what I get out of William Lane Craig's answer to this guy's question, is that as long as you're doing something with God in mind, if you're doing something to praise God, then it's considered good. Now, obviously, Dr. William Lane Craig here would probably argue that there are some things that in no way could be considered oriented towards God, like slavery or sexual slavery or genocide. The three things that I suggested earlier to prove that God is in fact evil. Of course, back then when God ordered it, it wasn't evil because God ordered it. But now if you order it and you're not God, then it's obviously evil unless, God apparently would not do that now, which I think is something it's either William Lane Craig said or somebody else recently that we covered said. But basically, I think it was Mike Winger. Mike Winger said it, that fuck that guy. Yes, fuck that guy. Mike Winger, who's pretty much just as bad as William Lane Craig, except without a doctorate. He said that God wouldn't necessarily do this now. Like God just wouldn't tell you to go out and commit what we would consider to be evil. God only tells you to do the things that we consider now to be good. But you see, therein lies the problem with this entire thing, is that our idea of what is good and what is bad changes throughout time. And depending on the culture, it changes, because something could be considered good in one culture, but considered bad in another culture. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to me to propose such a subjective view of morality or of evil, good and evil, when it's coming from this transcendent being that's supposed to be the moral foundation. It is supposed to be the foundation for good. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me for that foundation of good to be subjected or subjective to the current popular opinion of humans, which is what it seems to be. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I don't understand why William Lane Craig would go this route. Gesundheit. Yeah. If that was oriented towards God, that's fine. Did you sneeze towards the devil? You sneeze towards hell? Well, I guess you're going to hell then. Sorry, honey. I'll come to hell with you. Yeah. Home team. Anyways, so I really don't understand William Lane Craig's whole thing here. If you're a William Lane Craig fanboy, or you understand William Lane Craig's argument on this, and you're an atheist, because obviously theists aren't going to make it this long. Most theists won't, at least. Please explain this to me, because I really don't understand it. Because what it ends up being is an argument from subjective morality, but you're putting on the facade that it's objective or absolute. Apologists like to use objective. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me either. It's absolute morality, or this absolute idea of good and evil. So I don't understand it. But anyways. that's going to be it for our video tonight. I know that it was kind of short, but I hope that you guys, enjoyed it as much as you can enjoy William Lane Craig. As far as the entire video goes, I thought that the question that started us off was really good. I hope that more Christians ask these kinds of questions. Like but I wish that people would come a bit more prepared to ask these questions of like Frank Turek or somebody else, because what you end up with is just some claims without any kind of real substance behind them, right? Like, oh, what do I say to an atheist when they say God's evil? And I feel like maybe they need to be a bit more specific. Like, oh, well, what happens when an atheist comes to me with Isaiah 45:7 that says that God creates evil and says, oh, hey, look, God creates evil. How would you argue against that? Or something of that nature. I feel like that's a bit more specific, has a bit more weight behind it, because you've got a reference to something in the theology about God creating evil. And if William Lane Craig wants to still go down the route of, well, evil is not something that's created, it's a lack of direction towards God, or a lack of orientation towards God. I mean, I feel like that's just going to be even more incoherent at that point, because William Lane Craig still isn't answering the question of why Isaiah 45:7 exists. Like, he didn't answer like why it says in the theology that God creates evil. I mean, I think that I could probably figure out how he would argue that, and how he would probably argue that is that, like, dualities exist. Like, if God creates good, then evil also has to exist. But then that doesn't really make sense when he's talking about how, well, this is, created by free will, or that it's spontaneously generated by the use of free will that's not orientated towards God, or something like that. I feel like that puts him in a bit more of a bind, a bit more of a position to really consider what his argument is. And at this point in William Lane Craig's career, I feel like he just kind of goes for the easy sort of answers. Like, he doesn't actually have to think about the theological positions that he's spent so many years cultivating. He just has to regurgitate them for a new group of people, it seems. So, but anyways, if you will, please go down below. Let me know what you thought about William Lane Craig's opinion. Do you think that he had good points? Do you think that he's making sense? Or is it just all fucking word salad that nobody can really understand except for William Lane Craig and his fanboys? Let me know down below, if you will. While you're down there, why don't you smash that like button and subscribe if you like this kind of live stream. I know there's plenty of people out there that love these live streams, even though we talk about like good, evil, and dick. We talked about God's knob a little bit. Anyways, so if you will, do all of that, and I guess I will see you heathens later. Don't forget to stand up, use your voice. Bye, heathens. But don't go yet, because we got the Skeptic Mafia comments to go through. And the Skeptic Mafia had kind of a lot to say on this issue tonight. See, it automatically takes me to the dashboard, and I noticed that we're one subscriber less than we were before, because I keep track of shit like that. And so they must have heard that I was talking about this tonight. I was like, you know what? Fuck this guy. I'm just done. That's exactly what they were thinking, huh? All right, let's see. Let's get to the comments here. Filtered appropriately. Elizabeth Richardson says, "Ha! I tracked my subscribers too. It makes me sad when I see I lost one." Yeah, yeah. I can. I mean, I don't normally like. I'll check them out on occasion. It really doesn't bother me. But, anyways, all right. So we got. Oh shit! Hold on. It's not. There we go. All right, we got Daniel M. First one up. Daniel says, I'm betting that the dude asking the question sat down and asked his buddies, what the fuck did he just say? One thing is for sure, WLC knows how to dodge a question. Cold is privation to heat, therefore evil is a privation to good. That has dick and shit to do with the sea in China. In your worldview, God still made that shit. According to numbnuts here, God can't make or allow evil. However, he makes free will, which leads to evil or bad in the world. Tell me how God isn't evil again. That was a terrible analogy. He didn't even come close to answering the question the dude asked. It would have been better if WLC just looked at the dude straight in the face and said, I haven't the foggiest fucking idea. It wouldn't have taken quite as long. Instead, we get 2 minutes of meaningless rambling. WLC's friends and family must get sick of his shit. Wife says, WLC, yes, she calls him by his full name. What are you wanting for dinner? WLC says, well, if we were in Taiwan and God laid on my heart that I had to take a shit, but the bear grabbed the walrus, wife, never fucking mind, we'll starve. I try my best to sniff out the WLC video and help you all out. Join the Skeptic Mafia and avoid the train wreck that is WLC, or don't avoid it. Either way, it's fun. Thank you so much there, Daniel. Appreciate you. Next, we got Command Cyborg, who says, oh dear, Sanctus Darwinicus. Once again, we struck the proverbial gold, or perhaps the opposite. Dear Mr. Lowbar Bill, if your God does in fact exist and has the traditional omni-creator attributes, he would indeed be the one author of evil. The free will, so-called, of angels and men would only be as free as he determined, and I suppose the earthquakes, blizzards, and pestilence, and so forth sweeping the world would be doing of the free-willed mischievous angels? But that God would know those particular entities are destined for such abhorrent behavior and would surely apply appropriate countermeasures, wouldn't he? No? Well, I guess the obvious existence of such things are the evidence of absence that shouldn't be there if that God being were here. I'll stoop here. Dr. Craig, consider the whale peen. I hear from a bad authority it's 15 foot long. Smash all the buttons, ring-a-ding-dong, become mafiosos, and you can vote for the Friday video and have your comment read. They're all full of stupid, of course, even the one you or I voted for. So I don't always have a hidden WLC video, but it seems like every time I do have one, people pick it. I'm shady? You're on the side of the Skeptic Mafia, huh? I'm a shady Sheila. You love me? I love you too, honey. That's all, folks. Thank you and good night. Goodbye. World transmission terminated. And then we got Elizabeth Richardson. Thank you so much there, Command Cyborg. I appreciate you. Elizabeth Richardson says, damn it, G. That is all. Have a good night. That's all that really needs to be said for this fucking video, right? Lure Reality says, low bar Billy with both guns ablazing. Oh, he had to reload them guns right there. Margaret de Velden. Sneaky. He changes it to an argument about free will. Whether we do or do not have free will is moot. We live as though we do. This allows us to hold people accountable for their actions and words. If we can't hold people accountable, then there is no reason to establish societal rules and laws, since we could not enforce them, such as thou shalt not take the Lord's name in vain. God damn it, Margaret! You're right! Next up is Jester, Lord of Fools, saying this exact explanation sounds a lot like my Tourette's. So let's use that to explain why Dr. Whatever lame crap is wrong. Now, whenever my Tourette's implores me to call Dr. William Lane Craig Sally and slap my own face, I get a premonition of that as the electrical current shoots through my brain and creates the pathway that gives me the urge to do a dumb. I then have the free will to deny that urge and be tortured by my brain while I find a way to redirect that energy or give in to the disordering of my free will. Now, to note the number of things created here, and that's not a lack of a proper pathway that's caused anything here. Sarcasm font. Oh, I so look forward through to some incel using this as a justification for why he ended up hurting someone who denied him a proper pathway to relieve himself. Yeah, that sounds that just the sarcasm part right here definitely sounds like you're talking about incels who think that they should like they deserve to have sex or something like that with women. Anyways, in other news, please sign up for the Skeptic Mafia so that you can practice arguments against wasteful, loadable content and sometimes get feedback on the quality of your argument while your money goes towards shitty things like giving children presents for Yule. Yeah, who would want to give children presents and do shit for foster kids around Christmas? We're being evil atheists here because we didn't do it for God. We did it for the kids. We're the absolute fucking worst. We make Ray Comfort vomit into his mouth and then swallow it again. That was a lot. It's not false. Metalhead says, nope, fuck that. As you like to say, citation fucking needed. William Lane Craig would say, like, I'm the fucking citation. I don't know what you want from me. Isaiah 45:7, the Bible is perfectly clear. It says, from this God source itself that he creates evil. The Bible makes it very clear and direct that God is the author of evil and causes evil. I just had a discussion with a Christian apologist pastor / evangelist here in California. He tried to pull this exact same thing from WLC. He used the same position and everything. I shut it down fast. He's a biblical literalist, so I gave him Isaiah 45:7, Proverbs 17:4, Amos 3:6. Shall I continue? I confronted this. Either the Bible is true or it is not true. If it is true, then we must look at the context of what is said and written. And I definitely think that if you're dealing with a biblical literalist, like someone who thinks that the Bible is inerrant and everything like that, pulling out these Bible verses is a pretty good way to go about it. Although, do expect them to have like excuses for things. It could either come in the form of them just being like, oh, well, because God said it, that means that it's not bad. Like if God said to do this, then it wasn't evil. And so that's how they skirt around like all of these evil things that the God of the Bible, especially in the Old Testament, does. And so just be prepared for that, because at that point, they're just cherry picking and they're making up excuses for what's literally in the Bible. So just keep that in mind. Let's see. The Hebrew word used in these texts or scripture uses the words ra. This word is used 663 times in the Bible. The word is primarily used for the word evil. It is used as a meaning, evil, 431 times. The remaining 232 times, it is roughly used as a more colloquial usage of evil that can also be similar to that of wicked, bad, hurt, harm, ill, sorrow, mischief, displeasure, adversity, affliction, trouble, calamity, grievous misery, and trouble. Sounds like someone's been reading Strong's. Whenever the Hebrew word ra is used, It either means directly or specifically evil, as in Isaiah 45:7, or it can mean the type of evil of the other uses, a more generalized sense of evil that is broad in usage. I definitely think that this is a really good route to go down, because, I mean, there's some people out there that will tell you that you have to know the language in order to be able to define words or know how people are using words. But considering that dictionaries exist and concordances like Strong's Concordance, and there's several other concordances out there that will give you the breakdown of how a word is used, especially in a biblical context, and what it means and what writers would have meant when they use the word. And so you don't have to know the language in order to be able to define what a word means. And so I think this is a really good way to go about this, because you're breaking down the argument to the original language and what the original author most likely meant, considering the words that they actually used. And I think that, you know, putting people in this kind of corner, you know, has them sitting there being like, well, I really don't know. I don't know what the fuck to say at this point. I feel like it should leave anybody kind of speechless, unless they're going to bullshit you. If they're going to bullshit you, then you know that you've kind of won that exchange. Not that that's the goal. The goal is proper communication, but just eliminating the fact that these people don't know what they're actually talking about, I feel like is an important aspect of this. Let's see. When studying the context of usage by apologist sources, it is quick to see that they like to downplay the type of use of the word evil. They often want it to mean a type of calamity or discord or whatever, and completely ignoring the fact that this is a type of calamity use caused or made by evil. Every usage of the word raw or evil in the Bible uses it in a sense as actual evil or something happening as a result of evil. These apologists ignore this key factor. They ignore the root cause. Evil exists because their God created evil. Only a God who is evil and capable of evil would make such. That's a very good argument there, I think, Metalhead. Thank you so much for giving us that. Next, we've got Michael W. Roble, who says, Slick Willie Lowbar always has the answer. So evil is an unforeseen byproduct of free will. There goes all knowing. Or he knew it was going to happen, and God did create evil. Damn that Omni shit. Fuck. Omni shit, shit, fuck. All right, Jonathan Nickel. Jonathan says, yay, more WLC in his unreasonable faith. Is there any other kind? First off, the guy asking doesn't believe the Christian God is evil. Has he read the Bible? That would have been my first thing when confronting the guy asking the question, is like, do you know about these particular stories? Because, like, there's this one story where a dude, Jephthah, he actually sacrifices his daughter for God. And God knew that that shit was going to happen, and God still took the bet. Anyways, Craig speaks of people being created with free will, but that there is a disorder if that will is not directed towards God. If free will is conditional in that it either leads in a set direction or it fails, then how is it free? That's a good point. Also, an omniscient and omnipotent God would know how we would use our free will, so any consequences of our decisions, whether it leads to Christianity or elsewhere, would ultimately be his fault. In short, we have free will, but we are allowed to be free. But we are not allowed to be free. This is not freedom. This is North Korea. We call ourselves a democratic republic, you may note, but if you vote for anyone other than the supreme leader, you will be killed. He compares evil to cold. While both concepts are relative in a way, we feel cold when the temperature drops below our comfort level. This is determined by the environment, clothing, and even our individual tolerance to changing temperatures. Evil is a term used by humans defined to describe actions that make us uncomfortable, behaviors we do not tolerate. It too is relative, based entirely on our own judgment. No God required. What is the origin of evil? Ourselves. Oh shit. My fucking my camera broke. Hold on 1 second. Thank you so much there, Jonathan Hanachek. I appreciate your input there. We got Star Sapphire Tomato Chan, who says, God damn it, not again. Fuck shit. Well, I guess the meme I created must have triggered this. Fortunately, I'm a bit preoccupied, so I can't watch the video, so I'll just watch your response to his fallacious arguments. In the meantime, enjoy this recycled ASCII. And it's a deal with it. I love those particular ones. Because we got to deal with WLC again. God damn it. How do we keep falling for your WLC trap card? Anyways, boosh all the buttons, lick your phones, yada, 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 and join the Skeptic Mafia because... Casey says no phone licking, guys. Because we keep falling for this and we pad the numbers a bit, maybe, just maybe, more people voting will mean less a chance of getting WLC trap card played on us again. And for the last time, I may be a tomato, but I are not food! Okay. KC goes, whatever. Oh, she said yes. Huh? Tomato is food. She loves tomatoes, by the way. MathWiz 742 says, at least it never seems to be my fault whenever we step into the WLC trap. Call Up Psych says, oh, mention the devil's name and he stands right up. Drew's Book Reviews is next, saying, as usual, I'm going to choose to not give the video a watch beforehand, lol, and just judge it off the title alone. What is the origin of evil? That is a good question. I am going to give you some of my theories. 1. Organized religion. Not God. That would presume that there is a God to begin with. Just organized religion in general has been a force for so much harm and manipulation. The selfish gene which leads us to engaging in actions that benefit us at the expense of others. Our tribalistic nature as a species leads us to four groups and tribe mentality. The other tribe is not like us, so they are bad and must be destroyed kind of thinking. You know, like early Homo sapiens fought with Neanderthals to extinction, leaving us the only hominid species left on Earth. But it's important to note that there were some groups where Neanderthals and Homo sapiens intermingled. And that's why we have some Neanderthal DNA. I'm not saying that that Drew forgot about that or anything. I'm just saying that there were some groups out there where they intermingled. So that's kind of interesting. Just my thoughts for the origin of evil. If we can presume there is such a thing as evil, I prefer to think of it as a subjective morality, in that we call bad things evil and good things good. What we really mean is that our sense of morality and ethics sees this or that as bad, therefore evil, versus evil as it is Satan and the devil. That kind of evil does not exist.
I've come to drink beer and shit on people. Luckily, I have enough beer.
That kind of evil does not exist because there is no Satan and no God. Just my thoughts. Anyways, heathens, I will probably tune in after the NLL lacrosse season opener tonight. And until next time, keep on reading. Thank you so much there, Drew. Appreciate you. Hope you had a good lacrosse season opener. Is that like football in any kind of sense? Like lacrosse is where they have those poles with the nets on the end and they like fucking beam it at people, right? Okay. Selfless Potato says, well, we had a nice break from WLC, but we're back at it again, I see. Thanks, y'all. To everybody that voted for WLC, I guess. We had Satan's little helper that said, can their God not achieve his goals without us suffering? Just read some greater good when he already knows the outcome. I mean, you would think that God would be able to achieve his goals without us suffering. You would think that if he knows it, huh? Oh, it wouldn't be fun for him. Is he like a little shit that's got that magnifying glass and we're the ants? Yeah, God's a little shit that has a magnifying glass, and he's like fucking us up with his magnifying glass, magnifying the sunlight to burn us all to a crisp. That's exactly what God is like. Yep, you're right, honey. I do want to say thank you to everybody that showed up tonight, everybody that donated, all of the Skeptic Mafia members. You guys are awesome out there. Next week we've got some interesting videos coming up. On Monday we've got our Litwa test that was coined earlier in the discussion by, I think it was the Apocalypse Meow. Suggested a Litwa test, and we're going to be performing that on Dr. Litwa himself on Monday when we discuss Christian origins, because there's a misconception about like mythicists and where we say that Christianity kind of began. So we're going to be taking a look at that on Monday. On later on in the week, we're going to be taking a look at 3 videos that seeks to pit atheism against science. But as we'll find out, it's just a religious person thinking that he's pitting atheism against science. So it's not really that. Anyways, so those are what we got coming. My USB shit just totally. No, my USB controller freaked out for a second, and it crashed. Like the driver crashed or something like that. Happens sometimes. Anyways, so next week we've also got the Daily Bible Podcast that will be going on. I do have a Skeptic Mafia podcast that I need to get up, so that will hopefully happen this weekend, because I'll actually have some time to do it. Been kind of in a crunch sort of situation at work, so I haven't really been able to get that done for you guys. So I'm sorry about that, but we will have that up soon. And, other than that, I guess we will just see you heathens next week. Y'all have an awesome weekend, of course, and we'll see you guys on Monday with Dr. Litwa misrepresenting mythicism once again and figuring out that he doesn't know what the mythicist position is. So we'll see you heathens then. Don't forget to stand up, use your voice, and all that kind of good shit. And we'll see you heathens on Monday. Bye, everybody.